Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted to all things MCU. My name is Brett Scott. I am your host, and this, my friends, is the show. And kind of an impromptu show, and I'm thinking I might want to do more of these, actually, since the series and movies are so spread out now, which is a good thing. Don't think that I don't like that. I actually think it's probably better for the MCU that we spread things out a little bit. But it creates less opportunity for me to get on here and cover, the content that's coming out. So I'm thinking I might like to do a little more of these just commentary, one-off episodes talking about what's going on at the MCU, what my feelings are currently, maybe even bring other people on. Like our other episodes, to talk about what's going on. But it's something I've thought about for a while. But now I feel like there's a real opportunity to do it since there's so much space in between stuff that's coming out. So today I want to talk about a few things. A little bit about Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously. And then I'd like to touch on this Agatha All Along series that we have now had a trailer for, finally. I know this is something that's been out there for a long time as something to expect from Marvel Studios. It's changed names several times, from Agatha, House of Harkness, Agatha, I think there was another one, and then there's this Agatha All Along. So, yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit, on that trailer and how I'm feeling about that, and get your guys' thoughts on it. And then also something cool that's coming up for Marvel Plus, a live event here soon in the near future. So let's jump into it. First things first. I want to talk about this Agatha All Along trailer. Now, when it first popped up, I'm not gonna lie, my first feeling was like, wait a minute, are we still doing this thing? Because I don't know if I ever really cared about a solo Agatha story. Love Catherine Hahn, love the character of Agatha Harkness in WandaVision. Still one of my top 5 of the MCU connected series that have come out on Disney Plus. It was the first one out the gate, and I thought they did an awesome job at exploring different TV genres. I really enjoyed the series for the most part. The only part I didn't enjoy, honestly, was like the finale. The finale of it, I wasn't too hot on. But all the build-up, all the mystery, I love trying to figure out what the hell was going on with Wanda and with this TV universe she was living in. Trying to figure out whether it was her doing it, whether it was someone doing it to her. I mean, it was a fun ride. And if you guys remember when this series first came out, it was the first of this novel idea of movies that connected to series, and it was like this new thing, and everyone was excited. Like, I know now with having all this time of having it for several years of these series coming out, plus several movies per year, it's like there's a bit of burnout. People aren't as interested. The series feel more like they're just putting out series sometimes, like throwing stories together. It felt rushed sometimes, and it felt a little sloppy at times. And not really that they cared so much about the shared universe and building this thing, and a little bit more of like just having these little creative outlets for a plethora of different, creators to have fun on. And a lot of them have been awesome. And then some of them have been kind of mediocre. And I guess that's to be expected. But if you were around when WandaVision was coming out, and the anticipation week to week of new episodes, it was something special. It really was. I mean, it was like the heyday of this podcast, right? Like, it was it was this new thing we were all discovering together. And even the podcast evolved, right? It evolved from that. It started out as a solo podcast with just me, and then quickly evolved into me having guests on to share their opinions, and then, to what it is now, where we have a different guest on all the time, bring back a couple recurring guests here and there. It's become something different. And when it first started with that first few series, that I would say that first year, maybe the first 2 years of these series come out, but especially that first year of 2021, when we got WandaVision and we got Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki season 1, Hawkeye, oh my God, it was awesome. It was so awesome. The anticipation week to week, it would dominate your news feeds, right? On every platform. If you're into this stuff, it was dominating your news feed. It was dominating the Google feed. Every time a new episode dropped, there were stories about it. Thousands of stories written about it. Endless content to consume about content that we love. And everyone was into it. And honestly, everyone was on board. It didn't seem like anyone was like, didn't really dig this one. Everyone was loving it week to week. And WandaVision was a big part of that. Like, starting it off with WandaVision really intrigued people and got them into this episodic mode of telling these stories. So, all that to say that, I really enjoyed Agatha Harkness in that series. I thought she's a great character, and I love Kathryn Hahn as an actress. But when I first saw this trailer, it's like it's been so long. It's 2024. We're not getting it until Halloween time. So, September. It just seems too far removed from WandaVision. And it seems, I was just kind of like, I was kind of overdoing it. Like, if they would have done it a year later, I think I'd be a lot more stoked. But where we're at currently, sitting with the X-Men on the horizon, which is, what I've been preaching from the beginning of this podcast, will potentially be the best thing the MCU's ever done, is an X-Men universe. And just looking forward to that and seeing what it turns out to be, and hoping that it's great. Like, I've referenced X-Men in probably every single episode of this podcast because I love it that much. I love that universe that much, and can't wait to see it play out in a shared universe on screen outside of the 20th Century Fox films. So, a mixture of the excitement about X-Men on the horizon, X-Men 97 being so damn good, and just like a breath of fresh air for the MCU, and Deadpool and Wolverine, and, I feel like in my head I'm moving past this stuff that I would have been super stoked for a year or two ago. But now I'm like, something that excites me even more is on the horizon, and this feels like this is part of that old story. Not that I don't enjoy that story. It's just that I'm so excited about something else that this doesn't get me as excited. So when I saw this trailer had dropped, I was like, okay, well, I guess we're still doing this after years of kind of putting it off and changing the name and wondering if it's actually going to be a thing. It's happening. But that was my initial reaction was I don't know, not thrilled, like I usually am when something drops like this, a trailer for a new MCU project. Yeah. But getting into it, when it started out, and it's showing Agatha as like this detective, very like Clarice in Silence of the Lambs type, FBI agent, very dark vibes to the trailer. I'm like, oh, okay, like a Mindhunter type feel to it. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right, this actually kind of looks cool. This looks cool. what are they doing? Why is it set up like this? I was kind of digging it. And, but I got to say, as soon as they kind of like immediately let us know in the trailer, which is a big mistake, with WandaVision, we had no idea what was going on, and that was part of the fun, right? Trying to figure it out week to week. Well, we already know this is an illusion. This world that she's in is an illusion, and she's stuck in this reality, basically, that Wanda has created for her at the end of WandaVision. So like I said, drawing us all the way back to WandaVision that was 3 years ago, it just feels like it should have come out sooner. I think I would have cared a lot more if it was coming out sooner. Overall, the trailer looks cool. I like the vibe of it. I like the darkness of it. I like it seems I don't know. It seems like something that would be up my alley, but I can't quite explain why I'm not super pumped by seeing that trailer. I did not like that they already let us in on what was going on, right? They didn't let us speculate like we got to do with WandaVision with the first couple episodes. It just told us right out, like, oh, this is what's going on. You're stuck in Wanda's delusion, and that's going to be a big part of this, is trying to find your way out of this and what's real and what's not, and discovering yourself again. I don't know. I almost would have liked an Agatha prequel better, I think. I think I would have liked to see Agatha Harkness through the years before she encountered Wanda. And, because we only got a very small snippet of that in the WandaVision series, a little flashback to kind of when she took power from her coven. I don't know. I think I would have liked to explore a past story of Agatha more than a current story, but hey, that's just me. I mean, maybe you guys, I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me know, reach out in all the places you can normally reach out. You can email the show, marvelpluspodcast@gmail.com. You can hit me up on Instagram, X, TikTok, @RealBrettScott if you want to chat. And the best place, honestly, and one of my favorite places to be, is the Marvel Plus Podcast Facebook group. Just search Marvel Plus Podcast on Facebook and join in. We've got quite a few new members have joined, and I love to keep adding to that number. So come over and join us. Have good discussions. We share all the latest MCU stuff over there. It's a good time. But anyway, with Agatha all along, I keep wanting to call it House of Harkness, because that's, for so long, that's what we heard it was going to be called. And I think that's part of it too, right? The initial non-excitement for this is like, it feels like it was a mess all along, It feels like they didn't know what they were going to do with it, how they were going to put it out, what they were going to call it. Like, I don't know. It lessened and lessened my excitement for... It made me more skeptical of whether it could actually be good or not, because it feels like it wasn't this well thought out thing. It was an afterthought, and it was an afterthought. Like, if not for the reception of Agatha Harkness in WandaVision, they never would have done this spin-off series. They decided after they released that series and started releasing episodes that they were going to do a spin-off. That was not planned originally, and so that tells me that they didn't have a plan for this. They didn't have a plan for her story, her character. They're coming up with all of it after the fact, after introducing her. And I don't know, that it seems cheaper to me. It seems more like an attention grab, a money grab, than let's tell the best story. But anyway, I'll be watching it. I'll be talking about it. We'll definitely cover it here on the podcast. And, I can't wait to do that. I hope it surprises the hell out of me. I hope I get blown away by it. For example, I really enjoyed Echo, and I didn't know what to expect from an Echo series. And this was the same thing. It was kind of like an add-on. It was like, after they introduced her, got a good reception in the Hawkeye series, which is one of my favorites. They're like, let's spin off, let's do a whole series of this character. And it surprised the hell out of me. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that series. There's like one or two aspects of it I didn't like that they included, but overall, I thought it was a badass series. And you can go back and listen to, the coverage here on Marvel Plus Podcast. You can go back and listen to the coverage we did, and it was well received. Very well received. So it can be done, and it can be done well. And things can surprise me, and I guess that's what I'm hoping for with Agatha all along. I hope it just blows me away unexpectedly. But anyway, looking forward to that. September release, should be out through Halloween. I think that's probably 6 episodes. Most of the series are. I think they're doing a 2-episode premiere followed by 4 weeks of sequential episodes coming out. So looking forward to covering that. I don't know yet if I'm looking forward to the series. Judging by the trailer, it looks okay. I'm hoping it gives me more than I expect when it comes out, but we shall see. We'll be covering that in September. So, now, on to the next order of business, something we'll be covering much sooner. Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, this is something that I think is just going to dominate the box office. I think it's going to be the biggest movie of 2024. I think it's going to easily make $1 billion. Easily. Maybe closer to 2. Like, it is going to be a huge, cultural event. You can already see by the marketing. It's got crazy marketing going on. So much money already in pre-sales. Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman are putting in so much promotional work for this. They're going on this tour around the world. It's insane. Look around at your restaurants, your fast food joints, supermarkets. You can see the marketing for this film is crazy. Rivaling 1989 Batman marketing. It's nuts. And I don't even think it's necessary for, the movie, to hype the movie. It's just smart for anyone that's latching on. Anyone that's doing a promotional deal with Deadpool Wolverine is very smart. Because a lot of people will go out and get your product just because it has Deadpool or Wolverine on it. My buddy Kurt just bought some aviation gin, from Ryan Reynolds' company, Aviation Gin. And it's a special, Deadpool Wolverine edition that he plans to get signed at a convention. I don't know, man. Dude, it's insane. It's insane. People are going nuts over this. And the first 2 trailers look amazing. I cannot wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. Just a couple weeks away. And I'll likely see it more than once in the theater. I'll definitely be covering it here on the podcast, soon after the release. And I just can't wait to see it. This feels like, I've been talking for a while about, this feels like a new beginning for the MCU. And I hope that's true. I hope the reception of this movie is gigantic and positive, and I hope that from that, Disney and Marvel Studios get the message that this is the direction they need to go in. The X-Men are the path to righteousness again. We haven't had excitement around the MCU like this since Endgame. And it has potential to do some really great things and kind of bring the MCU back to its former glory and give us the characters that I love the most. I was never a big Avengers guy. I grew up with X-Men comics, X-Men cartoons, and eventually X-Men films, and that has been my bread and butter, my ultimate love when it comes to comic fandom, movie fandom, animated TV series fandom, everything. That's what I love the most, the X-Men universe. And I think it has potential to be as good or better than the stories we got from the Avengers universe. So, yeah, that's coming up soon. Very excited for that. Just a couple weeks away. Now, I don't know. I feel like I was going to say something else about that. I don't know. It's going to make a billion, possibly billions of dollars, and I think it's going to just... People who think that the superhero genre is dead, the comic book movie genre is dead or dying, are going to get a huge wake-up call when it comes to Deadpool and Wolverine. Mark my words. All right, now, moving on to kind of the last order of business, the last thing I wanted to talk about. Marvel Plus is going to have another live event coming up real soon here in Columbus, Ohio, where I reside. The same company, GalaxyCon, who does the GalaxyCon Columbus every year, where I've been doing hosting a panel for the past 2 years, is putting on an event called Animate Columbus, and it's devoted to like all things animation. So very cool. As you all know, I'm very much into animation, not anime so much, but things like X-Men the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series and the DC universe of films and series. I'm a big fan of comic book adapted animation. Invincible, huge fan of that. Yeah. Pumped for the new version of The Watchmen coming out in animated format on Max. Just a big fan of the animated stuff. I think you can do even more with animation a lot of times. Sometimes it's not as cool as live action because it feels more real with live action, but I feel like you can do so much more on so much less budget in animation. And so I'm very excited for this Animate Columbus convention. It's coming up July, I think 19th, 20th, and 21st, I believe. I will be having the Marvel Plus panel and live show will be on July 20th at 8:45 p.m. And if you're interested, hey, if you're nearby or semi-nearby and you want to come in and check out a cool animation convention and enjoy a live episode of Marvel Plus, I would love to see you there. But even if you can't, I will be broadcasting it live as it's happening. If you're interested, I'm going to be posting links everywhere to the live feed that you can tune in on July 20th at 8:45 p.m. and catch an episode of Marvel Plus live. Now, the topic of this panel, of this episode, is going to be X-Men 97 and the series overall, how it was received by the general public, by comic book fans and casual fans alike, and the impact it's had and the potential it has to bring in new fans and excite people for the MCU. Basically, its effect on the culture. We're going to be discussing that series, key episodes, key moments, what they did right, maybe things that they did wrong, speculation for season 2, all kinds of stuff. But it should be about a 45-minute to an hour episode. We're going to do it live from Animate Columbus. Like I said, put on by GalaxyCon, big company that does cons all over. They have a convention coming up in Raleigh, North Carolina here in a couple weeks as well. But I would love for you guys to tune into that. And even if you don't tune in live, I will be eventually putting it on the regular podcast feed, and you'll be able to hear it there. There has been technical difficulties at the last couple cons I've gone to. So we did a con in Cleveland earlier this year. It was the best show, the best live show Marvel Plus podcast has ever had. Ever. the most amount of people showed up, the most crowd interaction. It was so much fun. My buddy Justin came with me. We drove up to Cleveland. My kids came. It was a great time. Unfortunately, we didn't capture any of it on the live feed or recording. There is no record of this ever happening. So it's like if you were there, you experienced it. It was awesome. It was a great time. We definitely got some new listeners from that live show. But unfortunately, we didn't get to capture it on video or audio for the podcast. So, and then I think we did pretty well on the last live feed at GalaxyCon Columbus at the end of last year, early December. Like, that went off without a hitch. That was a fantastic show. We actually got extra time because there was no panel after us, and so we did like an hour and a half podcast, captured it live. It was really great, and I put it on the podcast feed. Everything went off without a hitch. But the year before, my first year of doing GalaxyCon, we had technical difficulties where the show cut off, like the live feed cut off halfway through. Ended up having to kind of re-record after the fact the second portion of the episode with my buddy Alejandro, and eventually got it on the feed. But there has been technical difficulties, but I am taking every measure possible this time around to make sure this live feed goes off without a hitch. I want this thing to go out. I have a good feeling about this. I think it's going to be a decent turnout. I think it's going to be a fun con. I think with it being an animation-focused con specifically, that there'll be a lot more people there excited to come to a panel about X-Men 97, because X-Men 97 just blew the doors off everywhere in the culture this year. I mean, it was beloved. It was received so well. It is so loved by the fandom and even like non-fandom alike. People who loved this series as a kid, people who are just discovering it. I've had a lot of people contact me that are listeners to this show who never really watched the original series, but loved X-Men 97, which I didn't think was possible. I thought you kind of had to already be a fan of X-Men the Animated Series to really care about X-Men 97, but the storytelling was just so good, and the animation and the action, it was an incredible series, and I can't wait to discuss it, as I said, at Animate Columbus on July 20th at 8:45 p.m. Get there early. Get there at 8:30 just to make sure you're there for the live feed, and I will do my absolute best to make it a great experience for not only the people there, but watching at home as well. I'm going to make sure you get that live feed. Yeah. Come out and see the show if you're nearby. Come out and check out a cool convention. And if you're not nearby, tune into the live show. And if you don't make the live show, look for it on the feed. That'll be the next thing I'll be putting out. But like I said, I plan on doing more of these kind of episodes where I just chat about what's going on in the MCU world, culture. So let me know if you enjoyed this, little kind of extra episode that was a little different than covering week-to-week episodes. And if you did enjoy it, I'll do more. And if you didn't, I'll probably still do more because I enjoy doing it. This is fun, not having really a format, but just discussing the things that I want to talk about MCU related. So that's it. That's it for today. Who knows? Maybe I will pop in again before Deadpool and Wolverine or the live show. I might get a wild hair at my ass and decide like, hey, let's do another one of these. Maybe something crazy will drop that I want to talk about. But until then, I bid you adieu. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you enjoy the podcast, please go and rate and review the podcast over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Wherever you listen to podcasts, if there's an option to rate or review the show, please do that. It does help reach a larger audience. Don't forget to join the Marvel Plus Facebook group if you are over on Facebook. I'd love to chat with you over there. We can discuss all this stuff that I talked about in the episode. It's kind of one-sided when it's just me, but that's a place where we can go back and forth about the stuff. So Yeah, I think that's it. There is a Marvel Plus Patreon if you're interested in that. Bonus episodes covering early MCU films and other things outside the MCU, behind the scenes stuff, all kinds of stuff, and video versions of podcasts. So go check that out if you're interested. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks again for listening. As always, my name is Brett Scott, and this has been Marvel Plus.